President Kenyatta left for a 2-day tour of Uganda, where he will hold bilateral talks with his counterpart Yoweri Museveni. It is his maiden trip to Uganda since his triumph in the March 4th presidential contest. He was accorded a state reception, complete with a 21-gun salute. But it is his next trip, set for this weekend, that will be critical in Kenya's economic and political spheres. The president's sources indicate will tour Moscow and Russia, Japan and China for 3 weeks to pitch Kenya's trade and political interests. It is significant that Kenyatta's tour of Russia, China and Japan will coincide with President Obama's tour of Africa that kicks off on Wednesday in Senegal. Obama will tour Kenya's next-door neighbor Tanzania on Monday, but yet again snub his father's land due to the charges that Kenyatta and Ruto face at the ICC. Professor Maria Nzomo, a former ambassador and the director of the Institute of Diplomacy and International Studies at the University of Nairobi, says President Kenyatta's tour of Russia and the East during President Obama's second tour in Africa could have been a coincidence.
A president of a country does not just make a trip such as this, of such great magnitude, in a hurry or influenced by somebody else's trip. Foreign trips for presidents and people of that level normally take quite a while to organize, because it involves both the president, the visiting president, and the receiving president. And there are a lot of protocol and security issues to be put in place.
Kenyatta's planned tour of Russia, Japan and China reinforces Kenya's gradual shift in trade, with the East emerging as an alternative route.
I would say perhaps the larger reason for this, even if there are other reasons, is really to strengthen the already existing bilateral economic relations between Kenya with these three countries. Economic relations at the level of trade, at the level of investment, in different, of course, depending on the country, and at the level, of course, of aid for trade. And I think those are three components that are important. Of course, political relations, comes with the package.
The 2013 economic survey unveiled by Trade and Tourism Cabinet Secretary Phyllis Kandia last Friday indicates that the international trade and balance of payments was not in Kenya's favor. In 2012, earnings from exports stood at 517 billion shillings, while 1.3 trillion shillings was spent in imports. Though Kenya's focus in trade and political ties is shifting to the East, the European Union and America remain the country's key sources of foreign exchange. However, Africa remains Kenya's single largest trade partner. In the same year, Kenya spent more than 320 billion shillings on imports from America and the European Union, but spent more than 800 billion shillings to source goods and services from the Middle East and the Far East.
If we have to reduce our external dependence on anyone, we need to diversify our sources of trade, our partners, and of course the products that we produce for the outside world.
While the country earned about 14 billion shillings from exports to Russia, China and Japan, the three countries that President Kenyatta is scheduled to visit, it raked in over 70 billion shillings from exports to USA and Britain, countries considered to be Kenya's traditional trade partners. The USA and UK governments have, however, been accused of being intrusive and overbearing on Kenya's governance compared to the East, and hence the change of tack by Kenya on matters of trade and political relations. President Kenyatta's itinerary in the three-nation tour remains a closely guarded affair, but sources indicate he will be leading a high-powered delegation to ensure maximum trade returns for Kenya during the 3-week trip. Francis Gachuri, Citizen Live, at 9.